Thank you for tuning in to TTV. I'm your host, Toya, and today is Communion Sunday. And so I wanted to bring something different that was healthy, but a different twist. And so I found these at the dollar store. Come in so you can see. See, they Twinkie pans, okay? And there's two of them that come in here. And I found these at the dollar store. And so I wanted to make something with it, but I also wanted it to be healthy. So one of the ladies I follow, I watch a lot of their stuff. I try some of their recipes. Is the Whole Food Plant-Based Show, and what they do is they make a lot of things. Like everything they make on that show is off of whole foods. And what that means is that they don't process anything or over process anything. So like there's it's vegan for one. So there's no animal byproducts, nothing like that. But it also uses whole foods instead of using, you know, like cake mix or butter or something like that. That's going to be already broken down and processed. Now there is some process. Like for this recipe, I need oat flour. So it's supposed to be rolled oats, but I have steel cut oats. So we're going to turn this into a flour. So you have that kind of processing, but we're using whole foods. Like everything you see here is something that like a cashew or a date, things like this. And so it's actually better for you. It's easier for your body to break it down. And it's just overall healthier. And so this is a recipe that is gluten free. I did say it was vegan. So you got vegan, gluten free, all those healthy ingredients and stuff like that. It's the version that I'm doing is also soy free. Okay. And what this is it's part of a diet or a lifestyle that you would call nutritarian. So they eat their foods basically with no sugar, no added salt, no added oils. Okay. I think out of the whole book, there was like one recipe with some olive oil, and that was for a salad dressing. And it was like a tablespoon of olive oil and for that salad dressing. But outside of that, everything that they have is all whole food and no oil, no salt, no sugar. Now, it doesn't mean there's no salt at all. Like you can use things like broth, or you can use a low sodium broth, or use something like Bragg's amino acids. So there are ways. Lemon juice is a replacement in some recipes for salt. So there are ways to add flavor to it without adding additional salt content. And that's for a lot of people who need to watch it. Kitchen towel is all it takes, y'all. He deaf. He can't hear, so I have to use a towel with him because he can't hear nothing you say. But a kitchen towel will keep your dog out the kitchen, just so you know. So like I said, that they, with especially in my culture, we have a lot of heart disease, high blood pressure or hypertension, diabetes, all of that. These are things that really affect my community. And so by following a nutritarian diet, it really will help benefit you if you have those kind of conditions, because it's natural foods that your body is easy for you to break down. Use whole food ingredients, just look it up. That's all I can say is just look it up. Look into it. A lot of people have, I don't want to use the word cure, but a lot of people have overcome a lot of their illnesses and diagnoses by switching to this plant. I know me, myself, there was a point where I was almost 300 pounds. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. And I mean like 3 pounds away from being 300 pounds. And I started the nutritarian diet and I dropped almost 40 pounds right away. Then I kind of fell off. Don't ask me how I fell off, but I fell off, and then it's been kind of yo-yoing ever since then. And I finally got to the point where my mindset is back to where it was, where I can go back to doing nutritarian like I was doing before, so I can release the rest of this. Okay. And I say release because if you lose something, you look for it. So I don't want to lose the weight. I want to release it, because when you release something, you let it go. All right. So I got everything set up. As you see, I don't really need a lot of instruments. I'm going to use my, it's not a NutriBullet, but it's like one. But that's what I'm going to use to blend up everything. And I just realized I didn't even grab it, so I got to grab that. But we're about to get started. And again, the recipe, the video for the lady, she did cupcakes. Okay, so she made the Hostess cupcakes, and that's what it says, vegan Hostess cupcakes. I'm going to do Twinkies using that same recipe. Okay, so let me get the blender thing so we can get started. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. I got my NutriBullet. It's not really a NutriBullet, it's a knockoff. But I got my mini blender pulled out. I also cleaned these off, these little pans off, and I used a little bit of coconut oil. Um, and then just a touch of flour, even though with nutritarian, that's one of the things you stay away from is you don't use the white flours or sugars or any of that processed stuff. So you really keep it whole foods, like seriously. Like in this recipe, we're gonna have oat flour and almond flour. Okay, so those are your flours, and that's to keep it whole foods. I just did that because that's what I had right now, and so for purposes of this, I want to make sure this stuff come out because otherwise it's gonna trash this whole video, and I don't want to do that. So I just dusted it and used a little coconut oil and just a little bit of flour just to make sure that it'll pop out for me later on. In the video that she did, she used silicone. So she had silicone muffins, and that's what she used to make hers out of. You can also use this if you want to do cupcakes. You can put it in the cupcake, little paper cupcake things. That's fine too. But we're just going to go ahead and get started. So I have this in 3 different sections. I have the frostings because it's the white frosting that goes in the inside. But I'm also going to do a chocolate on the outside. And I'm making these chocolate because I like chocolate. So that's what I'm using. You could do this with anything that you want. You wanted a carrot cake recipe, a lemon recipe, whatever recipe you want, you can use for these. But this is what I'm trying because I saw her do it and they really look good. And I like some of her other cakes that she makes whole foods. Like she has an apple slice cake on there. Y'all, that mug is so good. I'm not gonna lie. I ate that every day for breakfast until it was gone. So like this stuff can be really good if you really put your time in it and really give it a try. So let's get started. So like I said, I'm going to do the oat flour first just so I can use this container because I have to use this for the frostings. That's why I have 2 of them. But let me get started. Now, this is supposed to be rolled oats, but I didn't have rolled oats. I had steel cut, so that's what I'm using. And we're going to see if it's going to work. It should, but we'll see. And like I said, you're just trying to get a flour out of it. Okay, so I think all of that is blended up pretty well, just so you can see. See, it ended up being a flour. Okay. And then, so it went from this, so from these little grains to a flour, a powder. Okay. So we have our oat flour. I'm going to take that and I'm going to dump it in here. You see, it's nice and grainy. So flour. Always wash your hands too before y'all do this stuff. I feel like that goes without saying. So it's 2 kinds. It's going to be the chocolate that goes on the outside as well as the vanilla that goes on the inside. So I'm going to start with the vanilla because I don't want to have to stop and wash this because this is the 4-blade and all I have the other one is the 2-blade and I want to make sure I use this one. So I don't want to stop this to have to wash that. And if I use vanilla, then I can just go ahead and make the chocolate. So that's what I'm going to do. So here I have, and I need a strainer. Y'all, I promise I don't do this on purpose. I know y'all like, you always forget to pull something out. I do. So here I have soaked some cashews because her recipe calls for you to soak the cashews and the dates together. Okay. And that's to get it to blend up really smooth. And you do this for 2 hours. So I soak these for 2 hours. So the cashews are nice and soft and so are the dates. Okay. And this is for the vanilla. This is a cup of cashews, a 1/3 cup of dates. So that's what this is. I'm going to put this in here. All right. To that we add a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla and 1/2 cup of water, which is what I have here. That's the vanilla and the water. All right. And then we blend it up. Okay. So let's get this blended. Okay. So it's all blended. I think this is good. Oh, yeah, that looks good. You see that? Nice and creamy. And let me get a spoon because I want to, 1, see what this tastes like, and 2, scrape the rest of this in here. So let's first scrape this. See how it's nice and soft? All right. we want this to be put in the refrigerator and cool off while we're doing the rest of it. So let's move to the chocolate. So here for the chocolate frosting, it's 3/4 cups of dates. So in here, it ended up being like 5 dates that ended up getting soaked into here. This one is 9. And then in the actual cake, no, yeah, this one is 11. The other one is 7. Okay, so 5, 9, 5, 11, 7. So this is the chocolate. This is the one with the most. So this is like 11 because it's a frosting. So this is 3/4 cups of dates, a 1/3 cup of water, a 1/4 cup of cocoa powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. Okay. And then I have the water and then the cocoa powder. And for this, I'm telling you, it looked like I'm going to end up having to add something to it. Like I might have to add some liquid to it because I don't know if this is going to be enough because it's a lot of dates. But we going to see. Also, I noticed I have to put this on here in a special way in order for it to blend. I didn't know that before. So, learn something new, but let's get this blended. Okay, so this is not blending up for me. So what I'm going to do is add some almond oil, and it's unsweetened almond, not almond oil, almond milk. But you can see where it's starting to get really fudgy in there. But I need it to blend so we can get these dates blended, but it's not doing it. So I'm going to add a little bit of almond milk. And I'm going to just keep doing this until I can get it all blended to consistency where it'll blend. Now, one of the things that is different is she used just regular dates, and I'm using medjool dates. Medjool dates are sweeter than your regular pitted dates. So that's one different. And they're also a little bigger too, but they're sweeter. But anyway, so let me get this blended up. Be right back. All right, y'all. Took some finagling with this thing, but I finally got it to blend everything up. So this is a chocolate frosting that I'm going to put over once it's done. All right, so I'm going to get these covered and put in the refrigerator. Put this almond milk back up. I'll be right back. All right, so I had to stop so I could get my other blender because I forgot to grab that. And we're going to start with the actual cake mix. Now, the reason you want to do the frosting first for the inside and the outside is because you need to let that chill for about an hour before you actually use it on the cake. So by the time the cake finishes cooking and by the time it cools off and all of that, then it'll be ready for us to use to frost and stuff, okay? Now, one of the things I do want to say, you're going to notice the recipe is a little different. Girl, I got chocolate all over the place, y'all. But you'll notice the recipe is a little different because it is gluten-free and because you're using stuff like oat flour and almond flour. It's not going to have that same moisture or same texture as a normal cake if you use white flour, okay? Or cake flour. It's not going to be that soft. It's going to be a lot more dense, okay? It'll still be moist and still taste good. It's just going to be a little more dense than your traditional cakes. So if it takes some getting used to if you're not used to a dense cake, like I know for us, we call those church cakes, or you get that church pound cake where it's really dense and very heavy and, will soak up liquids like that. So this will be along the lines more so of that than it would be your nice, moist Duncan Hines, fluffy, light tasting cake. One of the things I do want to try eventually, that's a dryer, y'all, if y'all can't tell. One of the things I do want to try eventually is adding aquafaba to the cake to make it lighter because aquafaba is the liquid left over from your chickpeas. So if you open up a can of chickpeas, all that liquid that's in there is called aquafaba. And what it acts almost like as an egg white replacement. So you can use it to make a whipped cream out of. You can use it to make what they call that meringue-like substance where it has the stiff peak, soft peak. All of that can be used with aquafaba. And I'm thinking if I fold it into whatever cake batter I have, it'll actually make it lighter. But I haven't tried that yet. And I'm not going to experiment with that because I'm already experimenting with using these pans and doing this recipe different than what she called for. So, but that's for the future. But right now, what I need to do is I need to get these dates blended up with the milk. And I left it like this just so you guys can see. So when you take the dates and you pull the there's a top off here. When you pull the pit out of the date, you pack them in here, and that's how you measure the size. So like this was half a cup. Okay. So I'm gonna get these in here, and I'm gonna fill it up with liquid so it can get blended up. This is my milk and vanilla. She does it separate. I'm doing it like this just for the purposes of getting this blended, okay? So let me get this top on here and then get this blended, okay? All right, so that's blended. She did it all in one container, but I got to use what I got, y'all. Okay, so see, it's almost like a date paste, okay? The same way you make date paste stuff, instead of milk, you use water. But it's like a paste, okay? So I'm going to leave that like that. Put that up. Toss that. All right. So here we have our cup of oat flour. Again, she used rolled oats. I didn't have any. I had steel cut, so that's what I used to make a flour out of. To this, I'm going to be adding half a cup of almond flour. And then she said half a cup of cocoa powder. What I did was I used half a cup of cocoa powder, well, a quarter cup of cocoa powder and a quarter cup of Carabon powder, which is, I think it's like an processed cocoa. I just know it has more nutrients than your regular traditional cocoa. So I just use both. Okay, so that's the almond flour and the cocoa. And then this is a teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda. All right. And then we're going to get this mixed, because you want to make sure this is blended, and you want to make sure that the almond flour and the cocoa powder and everything is really separated, so you don't end up with little beads. Okay. So get it blended really well. This is why she used a whisk, but I don't have a whisk. My whisk is dirty from earlier. But if you can see what I'm talking about, you see these little balls in here? That's what you're trying to break up, okay? And a whisk would make it go quicker. I'm the only ones in my house that's probably gonna eat this. I don't know if my son will eat it. Sometimes he eats this stuff, sometimes he don't. Like, he'll say it tastes fine, and he don't mind it, it's good, but then some stuff he won't go back to, and some stuff he will. So I don't know. It really depends if he's trying to give up sugar or not. Okay, so that's good enough for me. If you want, you can probably blend this just to get all of these little balls out of here, but it's not that serious to me. So now I'm going to add this to it. So I'll get this in here. This is a lot like applesauce consistency. And I'm going to show y'all what I'm going to do, because I want to make sure I get all this goodness out, right? So pour this in here. And then you can either shake it up or do a quick blend. So see how quick that was? I ain't had to edit that out. And then I get all the rest of the liquid out. See? Nice and clean. All right. I also have the oven already turned on. It is set to 350 degrees. And I'm glad I used this bowl so y'all can see what I'm doing. So just mixing it up, what it look like. One of the things I'm kind of concerned is I think that by using the rolled oats, the steel cut instead of the other one, I might have to add some more liquid, but we gonna see. So for the milk, I had a little bit of coconut milk left, so I just used the last of that, which ended up being like 2 1/4 cup. Not 1 1/4 cup of coconut milk, and then the other 1/4 cup I just used almond. But you want to make sure everything, all the liquid is all combined. And one of the things you can do with this cake batter that you can't do with traditional cake batter without worrying about salmonella poisoning is taste it. Good. So that works. Now I'm gonna use a spatula. Let me put this stuff up. Wipe my hands. All right, and then we're gonna get this in here. Now it's gonna bake at 350 for 20 minutes. And because this is not going to bake up like your traditional cakes, you can fill it up a little more. So I'm doing this probably about 3/4 of the way, because it's not going to have a whole lot of rise to it, because we're not putting stuff in it that would make it rise, like the egg and white flour and all of that. The baking powder will make it rise a little, but not, again, like a normal cake. So one of the things I think people have a problem with when they present it with like vegan items and stuff is that it's presented to them as a way that's going to just replace what you're already used to. And although it is a good substitute, it's not going to be exactly like whatever it is that you're trying to replace. So like this is not going to replace an actual Hostess cupcake or any kind of cupcake. But it does give you a nice alternative to something that's not so healthy. So it gives you an alternative to that that's similar, just not exactly alike. So you see how that's filled? All right. It doesn't mean that's not going to be good, but if you walk into it with the same expectations, because you know, a lot of vegan people do things that look exactly like the original stuff or the non-vegan stuff. And then when people taste it and it doesn't come out like that, they like, ugh, this nasty. And it's not that it's nasty. It's just that they were prepared for one taste and ended up with a different taste. Because it didn't end up tasting like exactly what they were told it was supposed to be. And so once you get past all of that, like this is supposed to be this or this is supposed to be that. That's why I like using replacement. I don't like using the saying, oh, this is just like, this will be a chicken replacement. Okay. So like when I talk about my jackfruit and do some fried jackfruit, it's not that the jackfruit tastes exactly like chicken, but it's close enough to where that craving and a desire for it has passed. Okay. And yes, my hands are clean. I washed them. Don't worry. But it's close enough to where it takes the desire away. And that's really all you're trying to do, is find a healthier way to do some of the things that you already like. That's the point of it, right? So I just tap that out. I just tapped it out just so I can get it evenly spread. And I'm put it on this cookie sheet. And I'm going to throw it in the oven. It's at 350 for about 20 minutes, okay? I'll probably check it after about 15. And again, in case you didn't see it, let me go in again. You see that? Now, you might see where it's a little, the little balls or whatever you can take. That's the oats. If I use rolled oats, it wouldn't have came out like that. Rolled oats do make a finer flour. So I'm going to actually set this for 15 minutes so I can check it, make sure it doesn't burn. All right, and then I'll be back with you guys and we can go ahead and let it cool and get the frostings and stuff out, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I pulled them out. They all came out lovely. Look at this, y'all. Look at this. We got a Twinkie. But I also wanted to show you this. This is what's considered a nutritarian meal. So this is just some red beans on some brown rice, and I put a little salsa on top because I didn't have any fresh cilantro. So I got cilantro in the salsa, so I'm using that. But that's a nutritarian meal. But y'all, look at these Twinkies. Look at that. You see that? And then this is what was made out of our fresh stuff. So out of our Whole Foods, rather. So out of the flour and the almond flour, the oat flour, almond flour, and the coconut milk, dates, all of that, it produces this. Now it is a little heavier, so I don't know if you can hear that, but it is a little heavier than a normal cake, but it's still soft. Here, let me see. You see, it's still soft and it's moist. Okay, so I'm gonna let these finish cooling. And then once they finish cooling, we can start the icing and, you know, putting the frosting and stuff in them. So I'll be back. Okay, so everything is cooled off. We're back, and I'm going to stuff these. I played a little with this one first, just to see if it would take, because I know in the video she says that you have to dig out the cake in order to get it to work because it won't fill up like a normal cake would. But I just tried it with this one; it worked, so we're gonna keep going. So I did give it a little help though, so I just put a little. Take the knife and just here so you can see what I'm doing. Just put it in there and wiggle in just to make a hole. Now, I used to have cake decorating supplies. I don't know what happened to them at all, but this is what we working with. So I have just used, like one of these folding bags, fold and flip bags, where I put it in there, put the vanilla frosting in there, and cut a hole in the tip. Okay, and now I'm gonna take that tip and put it right on top, and then just push. So it actually goes in here so you can see. So there's the little slit. Put the tip in and push. That one didn't go so well, probably because I'm trying to show y'all. All right. And then I'm just going to do that. And we're just going to keep on doing that to these. Put little holes in there, and that way we can get some of the frosting throughout the whole cake. Just like that. All right. That one came out better. Probably because I wasn't trying to show y'all. You know how it is when you try to show somebody how to do something, stuff don't act right. So, all right. Okay, so I'm gonna let those finish. Now, one of the things I was thinking about is this frosting is kind of thick. Now, I could take it and then put it over here and frost it like so. Or I could moisten it up a little and then just dip. But I think this is good enough. All right. So there's my chocolate Twinkie. Okay. So it's dipped on the bottom. Now, because this is a normal cake, you don't want to leave it out like you might do with normal cake. So you're going to want to put these in the refrigerator. So I have, I'll probably put these like on a plate or something like that and cover it up with some aluminum foil or plastic wrap or something like that. Or I got a square Tupperware pan. I'll probably put these in. But let's open it up and see what it look like. So that's what the inside look like, y'all. You see that? So as you can see, it's got as dense, kind of like a brownie. You can see that. But see how the filling went in? So now it's the true test. You taste it. Like I said. It's moist. It's a rich chocolate taste to it. But again, it's not as heavy. It's a little heavier than your normal cake. But it's quite delicious. And it will satisfy, like you have a taste for cake or something like that. It's a healthy way to satisfy that craving. So it is a wonderful alternative. And then you don't have to feel so bad about it because you have dates in it, which are really good. Amount of fiber, same thing with the oats and the almond. Nice fat from the coconut milk and the cashews. And then, like I said, the fiber. Oh, protein. So you get protein in this from, again, the almond flour and the coconut milk and the potassium and the coconut milk. So it's a lot of stuff in here that's really good for you. So you don't have to feel bad about it. You can feel good about it. You can also freeze this because I've done that before where I stuck them in the freezer. And the way to do that is just take them, like once I would frost all of these and do stuff them and stuff out the kitchen. Out the kitchen. Once you stuff it in everything, you put it on a cookie sheet, throw it in the freezer. Once it's with parchment paper. Put some parchment paper on it. Stick it in the freezer. Once it gets frozen to where even the frosting is frozen, then you can take it out and just throw it in a bag. And then pull them out, let them sit out for about 10 minutes to unthaw, and then you have cake all over again. So it's a good way to satisfy your chocolate craving, especially if you're a woman and it's that time of the month. And if I had a cake thing, what they call that, the cake decorating top thing, I could probably get it in a lot deeper, but I don't know what happened to my cakes making stuff. So, use what you got. But that's it for today. We made little chocolate Twinkies that are healthy and good for you, that you don't have to feel bad about. Doesn't mean you sit back and eat all of them, but you don't have to feel bad about it. So please like, subscribe, and share, because if you enjoyed this, chances are someone else will as well. And I will see y'all tomorrow.